Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1839 AN. Today's date is April 11th, 2019, and the title of the episode is The Deep State Pushes Back, the Economic Plan Moves Forward. Now, we know that Robert Mueller has been investigating Donald Trump for over 2 years now, and has concluded that there is no case to answer on his colluding with Russia during his election campaign. Given that news, you would expect the markets to have soared. Instead, they've reacted by tanking, and there's nothing the markets hate more than political uncertainty. Now is not a good time to be fully committed to stocks. Gold has rallied along with silver this year, and it might be time to think about putting some of your money into precious metals. If you call Noble Gold, you can speak to one of their advisors about the pros and cons of buying precious metals. So click the link below to get your free gold IRA guide, or just call 877-646-5347 and make sure to mention X22 Report to get the free gold investment guide. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the central bankers are doing what central bankers do best. They're not allowing the people do what they want to do. The central bankers like control. They like controlling governments. They like controlling countries. They like controlling the people in the country. And with the UK, with this Brexit, you can see the EU will not allow the Brexit to happen. This is exactly what we thought was going to happen. They said, okay, you know something? We will allow you to extend the deadline to October 31st. Now, first they were talking about 2020. Well, this is the first deadline. Will there be another? Maybe. Because this is what they do. They wear the people down. This is what they try to do. The people of the UK need to start saying, you know something, and putting pressure on their government to say, we need this Brexit and we need to separate ourselves from the EU. Who cares what their deal is, because it's not in our favor. Now, Trump tweeted out the following: too bad that the European Union is being so tough on the United Kingdom and Brexit. The EU is likewise a brutal trading partner with the United States, which will change. Sometimes in life, you have to let people breathe before it all comes back to bite you. And hopefully that within this period of time, people start to realize what the EU is actually doing. The government officials realize what they're trying to do. And at the end of October 31st or before that time period, they say, you know something? No deal. Let's break apart. We'll go it on our own. And we could see that Trump understands what is going on here. The EU is non-elected leaders trying to control many different governments. I mean, globalism, this is what they want for the world. This is what they were trying to do. But guess what? It's not working in their favor. And they know if the UK, or when the UK breaks apart, they're going to have a big problem on their hands. Now, here in the United States, we see initial jobless claims. Well, it looks like they plunged even lower. I mean, we're past 1969 right now. I mean, this is just unbelievable. They tumbled another 8,000 from the prior week revised 204,000 to just 196,000. The first sub 200,000 print in 50 years. Now, what's very interesting about this is that every time initial jobless claims reach this point where they're very, very low, we end up in a recession. Now, from everything that we've been talking about, I do believe we've been in a recession for a very long time. With manipulation and pretending we're not, people don't realize that we are in a recession. Yes, Trump can put out the numbers, but we know how he's getting those numbers. But what he did do with all of this is he trapped the Fed. Think about what he's done here. With all these fantastic statistical numbers, GDP moving up, unemployment moving down, initial jobless claims moving down, manufacturers coming back. With all this happening, the Fed right now is waiting patiently. For what? Because when Trump came into office, we didn't have these numbers. We didn't have this unemployment numbers. We didn't have this GDP number. we weren't even close to the initial jobless claims that we're seeing right now. And then they were saying, let's raise the rates. The economy's strong. Well, Trump has them now. How is the Fed going to explain why they are pausing the rate hikes? Because right now, we have the fewest number of Americans which are filing for jobless benefits in a half a century. So Trump has them in a corner. Did they know what they were doing during Obama's term? Do they know what they're doing now in Trump's term? Because they're giving mixed messages. Economy looking great statistically, they're pausing. The economy not looking that great, they're raising rates. They can't make up their mind. Do they know exactly what's going on? So no matter what they do, if they raise the rates, Trump turns around and says, listen, you raise the rates to destroy the economy. If they lower the rates and the economy starts to fall apart because the rest of the global economy starts to fall apart, which it eventually will, he blames the Fed. Remember, this can't last forever. It will eventually fall apart and it will all come tumbling down. Now, during a House Financial Services Committee meeting, several representatives from the nation's largest banks took questions on a range of topics, and Representative Maxine Waters was speaking to them. And she was asking them questions about student loans. Now, this is very interesting because she began with a long-winded diatribe about how big banks should be playing a role in the recovery of the financial sector in the U.S. following the 2008 recession. And she's blaming the mega banks for the current student loan crisis and asked what they're going to do about this. But I don't think she realized that the banks do not issue the student loans right now. Obama, back in 2010, ordered that the government take that over, which meant that these banks no longer issued student loans. Listen to what happened when she was talking to the bankers.
Mr. Solomon, I can't hear you.
I apologize. We eliminated a handful of businesses since the crisis.
Thank you. Today, there are more than 44 million Americans that owe, this is student loan crisis, $1.56 trillion in student loan debt. Last month, this committee received testimony that last year, 1 million student loan borrowers defaulted, which is on top of the 1 million borrowers who defaulted the year before. What are you guys doing to help us with the student loan debt? Who would like to answer first? Mr. Monahan, Big Bank.
We stopped making student loans in 2007 or so.
Oh, so you don't do it anymore. Mr. Corbett?
We exited student lending in 2009.
Mr. Diamond?
When the government took over student lending in 2010 or so, we stopped doing all student lending.
Thank you. What about small business? You mentioned that you were making loans to small businesses. Small business operators can't walk into your bank and get accounts. You kind of shove that off to community development organizations. Who can say that you have made an important business line lending to small businesses?
Chair Waters, as I said earlier, we made $8 billion in loans to of under $1 million size last year, and we have operating accounts for about 9 million small businesses.
Thank you. My time is up. The gentleman from North Carolina, Ranking Member Mr. McHenry, is recognized for 5 minutes.
That was interesting, was it not? It appeared to me that Maxine Waters, who chairs the House Financial Services Committee, did not know that the government had nationalized student loans 10 years ago. I don't believe she knows that. And she chairs a committee which regulates the banks.
Now, this is unbelievable. She has no idea what's going on here. And when Obama decided to let the federal government take over student loan lending, adding over $1 trillion to the total U.S. student loan burden, in 2010, Obama eliminated the federal guaranteed loan program, which let private lenders offer student loans at low interest rates. Now, the Department of Education is the only place to go for such loans. Obama sold this government takeover as a way to save money. Why bear the cost of guaranteeing private loans, he said, when the government could cut out the middleman and lend the money itself? Well, the cost savings didn't happen. In fact, the Congressional Budget Office just increased its 10-year forecast for the loan program cost by $27 billion, or 30%. So if she's looking for someone to talk to and to blame, she might want to direct her questions to Obama. He might have the answers for her. Now, we know that Trump, he's nominating two individuals for the Fed, Herman Cain and Stephen Moore. And we know that there are many individuals within Congress that do not want the system to be taken away from them. They like the system. And this is why we haven't had an audit in many, many years, because there's many of these individuals that like this system. It works for them. It makes them very, very wealthy. And we can see already some of these individuals are now coming out, and they are in the Republican Party, and they're saying, you know something, we don't want these individuals in the Federal Reserve. Mitt Romney, well, he blocked Trump. We also have Lisa Murkowski and Cory Gardner. They will not vote for Herman Cain. Now, we need to go back to post 2840 because Q gave us some insight into Mitt Romney and Ann Coulter. And Ann Coulter now is a never-Trumper, and it seems like Mitt Romney is maybe transferring money over to Ann Coulter to support him. And we can see that Mitt Romney was put into place to block everything that Trump tries to do. If we go to post 2899, remember when we had Feinstein telling Lisa Murkowski how to vote and what to do? Well, if you look down in the post, it says puppet and puppet master. So these two individuals are taking orders from others, and they're put into place to block what Trump would like to do. Now remember, Republican, Democrat, there are individuals on both sides that don't want Trump to succeed. They're going to try to block him at every turn. But in the end, it will not work. Think about what's happening with the D-class. Think about what is happening with the criminal referrals. Think about what's happening with the OIG report. When all this starts to come out, when all of this information breaks, and we have the sealed indictments become unsealed, and we find out who is corrupt, who is a criminal, who is treasonous, and whatnot, most of these individuals that are trying to block what Trump is trying to do, they are going to disappear. So the economic plan is moving forward, not backward. They can block as much as they want, but sooner or later, these individuals, they will be the minority or completely gone. And they'll be inconsequential to what Trump and the patriots are trying to do. And what are they trying to do? They're going after the Fed. They're going to take over the Fed, restructure it, and bring it down. And the people will control the economy. But we need to get from point A to point B, and that means we have to transition out of a central bank economy. And it's going to be a little bumpy. It's going to be a little difficult in the beginning. Just like when we came off the gold standard in the 70s, moving on to the petrodollar, it was a little bumpy. We had gas lines, other countries, they weren't doing as well as the United States, and everything needed to be adjusted. Well, now we're doing the opposite. Before we came off of a gold standard, moving on to the petrodollar with hardly any debt. Now we have a huge amount of debt, and the system has been manipulated to the nth degree, and we need to come off of this. So this is going to be a very bumpy ride, and this is why we've been saying get prepared for this transition, because it is going to be a transition into the new system. And I know the Patriots, they're working on a plan to make sure that it's not a hard landing, but a soft landing for many. But still, it's going to be quite tough until we get to the new system. So get prepared and get ready, because we are headed in that direction. Thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.